Hi class. My name is Joseph Pham, and this is my first speech for Mr. Butler's Speech 110 class regarding a person or event that's impacted your life or influenced it in a dramatic way. I chose. I couldn't just choose one. I chose both my parents because they've had an equal impact on my life, and still to this day, their influence is with me every day. Well, how they met. They met in Vietnam. My dad was born in Hanoi, and my mom was born in Saigon in the countryside. And they met through relatives and friends, and they just started hanging out here and there, meeting in the middle, in between cities that were in between their hometown. Even though it was a far distance, they always met at group meetings, family gatherings and stuff, and it hit off from there. My dad worked in the Vietnam Air Force, fixing airplanes and doing maintenance work, and my mom helped out with the family business. They had a tailoring business, altering clothes, and actually making clothes too. And so during a tumultuous time, the Vietnam War, as you guys are familiar with, they decided that it was best to flee and try to go to the United States, where a good way to escape the war and all the killing and the depression that and the oppression that they witnessed. And unfortunately, they had to leave behind a lot of their family. But my dad's working in the Air Force. He thought he could get seats reserved on a plane for them just to leave, and as a family they all agreed that it was the best decision for them to go. And so during the war, during the middle of it, I think during it looks like the late 60s, as I recall my dad telling me, so my dad was able to reserve spots on a military aircraft, and unfortunately when the day came for them to leave, my dad had a misunderstanding with one of the soldiers, and the soldier only allowed my dad to leave. My older brother, who's my only sibling that was born in Vietnam, my older brother Tommy and my mom had to be left behind, and it took about 8 or 9 years before they were finally able to meet my dad in the States. So my dad flew over first, and the plane landed in New Jersey, and my dad kept sending back and forth money for them every year for them to at least try to get a ticket over to the States, and finally after 8 years they could. And so once they were able to finally meet, it made headlines in the local New Jersey paper. It was very heartwarming, and everyone was happy. And my dad framed the story, and since I made the cover story, I mean, we have it to this day hung up in storage somewhere, but it's still in mint condition. And so after those hard times, my family relocated to Shreveport, Louisiana, because my dad found a new job, and that's where my sister and I were born. My sister was born in '85, and I was born in '87. So we lived there for a couple years. I mean, I'm not going to remember anything since I lived there for one, because the following year, after I was born, '88, we moved again to Tulsa, Oklahoma, where my dad found a new job, and that's also where he finally got his engineering degree at the University of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And throughout the time my mom's been around in the States, she's mostly been staying at home as a stay-at-home mom and raising the kids, taking care of the kids. But she also still loved to do what she did in Vietnam, which was sewing, doing alterations, tailoring. So she always had a side job here and there, working in a factory, a couple days a week, still doing what she loves to do best. And So after my dad got his engineering degree, around 1993, my dad found another, an actual engineering job. Now he's had, up until before he got his degree, he had still small maintenance work jobs in the military, Air Force, just fixing airplanes. But his passion was engineering, and he finally got his degree to do that. And so he finally found a stable job in Arizona. And so in 1993 we moved there. And so this is a more permanent stay. We stayed there. I'm still in Arizona, but this is our most permanent stay. This is where we call home. And my mom still hadn't found another part-time job working in a sewing factory and textile and clothing. And then in 1995 she was diagnosed with cancer, a rare form of cancer called neurofibrosarcoma. It affects the nerves, and she lost all feeling in her left arm, and unfortunately she passed away 2 years later in May of 1997 when I was only 10 years old and I was still in 4th grade. Obviously it was a devastating loss for my family and I, but her memories live on forever. And since she spent most of her time at home, my dad was always at work, I became really close with my mom during my childhood. And she's the one that, she was very devout, in Catholicism, and she instilled those values and beliefs in my sister and my brother and myself. And so I was always close to my mom since she was always at home, and she taught me a lot of stuff around how to do stuff around the house, being respectful to elders, a lot of lifelong qualities that you don't forget. And even to this day, I still go to church as much as I can when time permits, because I've been busy with school, but I still practice as much as I can, and I would consider myself still a devout Catholic because of her and what she's taught me growing up. She taught me how to, be disciplined, be independent, doing chores around the house. There's no words that can describe the impact that she's had on me. And my sister and I are both pursuing careers in medicine, and she's doing her PhD program in New York, and I'm pursuing a career in pharmacy. I'm applying to pharmacy schools this fall, and so she's obviously influenced, her whole family in many ways, and we will never forget her. But most importantly for myself and my sister, we've always had a strong interest in medicine and science in high school, middle school, because of what my mom went through, and we want to choose careers that make her proud. And me and my sister always dreamed of finding a cure for her cancer, and we always talked about a plan and what we're gonna do. And we're still that's still the main goal. But we live in her name, and we hope to make her proud by choosing these careers. But with my dad, though, so I was never close to him because he was never at home, and he was always at work, and obviously we were closer to my mom. But he still had a great influence in my life after she passed, because he had to take a more prominent role in the household. Obviously, even when my mom was around, he's always been a loving and caring father, but he just wasn't around that much. But me and my sister have come to realize it now that since he's basically the mom and dad at the same time, he's been very supportive. His influence is basically, to break it down, my mom was the most important person in my life at the beginning, and then once she passed, my dad stepped in and took over, and he never once thought about, being a bad father or abandoning us. And he's been supportive throughout my college days, right now, and we talk all the time, almost every day. And one of my my favorite hobbies and interests is sports, and me and my dad, we share the same passion. We found out at the same time, just flipping through TV channels. We came across a Suns game, and we just fell in love with basketball. And that's something, and it became a ritual for us to watch Suns games every time it was on television. And I cherish those memories. And from then on, it's been a great ride. And